is Mindy and Debbie from Quilting Mayhem, and it's another Monday tips and tricks, right? And so today we're tackling long arming for hire, or quilts by check, as some people call it.
Yes.
And no, it's not cheating. Those of you that say it's cheating, stop. Stop.
That's right.
You have to embrace what is your skill, and sometimes you let go of what is not your skill, and you leave it to others. So please don't judge others. If they have a long armor, quilt their quilts. If that's what it takes to get it done, it gets it done, all right?
Right.
So no quilt please, don't judge, all those things. But we want to talk about kind of long arming, how to prep your quilt to take it to a long armor, whether it's one of ours or somebody else maybe in your area. You may not be local, all those kinds of things. Kind of, you know, what should you be doing that makes your long armor very happy, right?
Yes.
We like happy long armors because they get a lot of quilts that, oh my, you know, there's all kinds of.
Sometimes, well, and the thing is that there's varying degrees of quilters
Yes.
that, come in. And so if it's a beginner versus, somebody who's been experienced. So it depends on what we get.
Yes. Now understand, if you are bringing a quilt to us for our long armor, who happens to be on vacation, this is why we took over her room, we only do edge to edge. So edge to edge is where the design literally goes across the quilt like a typewriter. It goes from one edge to the other, top to bottom. We do not do custom, so they are not working around designs. They are not doing fancy designs in certain areas, all those kinds of things. You do unfortunately need to find a different long armor or quilter to do those kinds of things for your quilts, because it takes a lot longer, it's a lot more expensive, it just kind of slows down the process. So if you're bringing it to us,
yeah, it can be very intense.
yes, but what's nice is we do have on our website. So if you go on quiltingmayhem.com, you go under long arm services, we have all kinds of information of what we charge, what's available. We even have all these designs. Debbie, I'm going to let you play Vanna today. So we technically have 2 binders of designs.
Well, and we have this form that you find online.
Yes.
And you can fill that out and bring it in.
So yes, if you're finding the information online and you really want to be prepared, not required, but this does give you the actual form that we fill out when you come in, or bring it pre-filled out, where you're putting in like your quilt measurements, whether or not you're using our batting that we provide, you're bringing your own batting, and we have additional services like we can put the binding on, we can put the binding where it's stitched on the back, you're hand stitching it down, we can have where they just trim it up. There's all kinds of different additional services.
Right.
That is all in the form. So all kinds of options as to how much or how little you want the long armor to do.
Yeah.
So all that information, we do try to have it all explained on the form. It is a 2-sided form that says you understand the long armor is going to do the best to their ability to get that design the size you want, the color thread you want. As you can see, we have all kinds of options for threads, all that kind of stuff. But what's kind of nice, if you do come see us, each one of the designs we do have kind of printed out in different dimensions, and all these designs are on the website. You can click a link and it will show you all the designs, so you can shop ahead of time to see what would fit your quilt. So we do try to have all this information kind of readily available for you.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that if your quilt is directional, to what is the top and what is the bottom.
Yes, yes. If you are very particular on how that design kind of lays on the quilt, because I have done quilts where I've actually loaded them on the frame sideways because it technically would go faster. And if it's a design that kind of mixes all together and you really can't tell if it's going side to side or top to bottom, I've cheated and just kind of put it that way so it went super quick. So, and some quilts you can't tell, especially if they're square, that kind of stuff. So make sure you're letting us know.
So many to choose from.
That's why I said it's 2 binders. I only grabbed 1.
Yeah.
So we do charge by the inch. We do have a loading fee, bobbin fee, all that kind of stuff. Now the bobbin fee will change. The number of bobbins we use for your quilt will depend on how loose, how tight you have us quilt your quilt. The looser the design, the less bobbin thread it uses, okay? So there's less of a fee. But keep in mind, the looser design, the more open space you have, the more ability that over the years the batting may bunch up, come apart, all those kinds of things. We do use Quilter stream batting, which is really nice that you don't have to have a super tight quilting. But I'm just going to tell you, over the years, no matter what, batting does eventually come apart.
Yeah.
You know, it has wear and tear. So keep that in mind. Now, some of the things as you're preparing your quilt. Do not bring a quilt like this to your longarmer that is not pressed.
Yeah.
This was a quilt, let's see if we can tell. A lot of seams are not pressed. Mindy was in a hurry, Mindy was in a class, and Mindy wanted the quilt top done because she knew she wasn't going to have time to finish putting pieces together. So there's a lot of things not pressed. Would I normally do this in the class? No. I'm normally somebody who presses as I go, all those kinds of things. But this was a mystery class, we were in sisters, and I have a highly, highly competitive nature that I want to get things done before I leave. So please make sure you are pressing your seams, whether you press them one direction, the other, or open, all up to you. Just try to make your quilt top as flat as possible. You want it to be more like this, where it's nice, flat, pretty, and it makes it a lot easier for the longarmer to lay it on the batting and stitch over those seams, okay? Because otherwise, when you have seams like that, things are going to buckle, bunch, all of that. So nice, flat tops. Highly recommended is that you actually do a stay stitch, which would either be a zigzag, and it can be just a wide open zigzag around the edges, or serge it if you have a serger. Why? Well,
because those seams can come apart, and then your longarmer either has to go back, take the time, and go back and stitch those seams, or they will be open areas on the top of your quilt.
Well, and notice, I haven't handled this quilt a lot, but notice how my edges are already fraying.
Yeah.
That stay stitch will help it from fraying even more, because then you just end up with a frayed mess. So doing any kind of stay stitch will help keep the stability and keep it from the tops and the sides kind of also stretching.
Yeah.
It does help prevent some stretching while it's on the frame, all those kinds of things, because it will kind of be like a stretch rack on the frame.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have one on here to kind of show you, but what will occur is that your backing will get loaded, and then your batting, and then your top, and everything does get nice and kind of stretched and straightened, and she will keep it as smooth and straight as possible, or whoever your longarmer is will keep it nice, straight, and even as possible as they go. If those edges are stay stitched, it helps them from pulling out, pulling in, all those kinds of things. So it's just super helpful for the longarmer. All right, you want them to be happy because you want to make sure you get back for the next quilt and the next quilt, and they don't go, oh, I'm really busy, I can't take your quilt. I don't know that that really happens, but you know, it's a possibility. Making sure that your seams are all stitched nicely. I would suggest kind of going through and looking for any open seams, and you'd be surprised. It seems to happen.
And so I'll speak from my experience is that if I had to cut a piece of fabric, maybe it's a little smaller than I need it to be, and so maybe I have an 1/8 of an inch seam versus a 1/4 of an inch seam, and then if I didn't get that all the ready, I know,
happens.
Like I say, it's on me. That sometimes that can pop, and you're going to have a hole in the top of your quilt.
Yes.
Or an opening. So
your longarmer will charge you to fix that.
Yeah.
Yes. It takes their time to stop, fix it, all those kinds of things, and they will try to check for all of those issues before they put it on the frame, because trying to fix something like that once it's on the frame and they've started quilting is essentially impossible.
Yeah.
So without literally hand stitching it. So keeping in mind, just checking for any of those, because yes, that definitely happens where you're like, oh, oops, this seam wasn't quite enough. And, you know, especially if it frays, those kinds of things, they like to pop apart.
Yep.
So please try to fix those, whether it's even just a zigzag stitch, tacking fabric behind anything. There's all kinds of fixes. All right, so then of course, before you bring it to us, you want to make sure your backing is bigger.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Please don't try to cheat this. Please don't think that 1 inch all the way around is enough.
No.
It is not enough.
It needs to be minimum 3 to 4 inches around the perimeter of the top of your quilt.
And that does mean all the way around, top, sides, and bottom.
Yep.
Once again, the why, all right? So your backing is going to get pinned to a leader. It needs room. You're going to lose 1 to 2 inches on the top, 1 to 2 inches on the bottom for them to pin it, plus put the batting. So they can't start at the very top of that fabric because that's on a leader. And then they have to put the batting under that because they don't want to sew on the leader because next thing you know your quilt's stitched into a leader. And then that's really bad. Nobody likes when they stitch into a leader. So keep in mind, you're now going to shift anything downward. You know, so then as you lose going downward and as things go, everything's going to straighten and smooth, but keep pushing and pushing. And so what you laid out and thought, oh yeah, it's 1 to 2 inches, that should be enough.
Nope.
It's going to keep going, and you're going to end up 1 to 2 inches short on the bottom. And ask me how I know that that's really, really sucks.
Yeah.
I have tried to play backing chicken and lost more than once, and it's not fun because taking it off of the frame, trying to put a backing onto it and get it back onto the frame and pinned and pretty and all that is no fun. No fun.
And as an example, if your quilt top is 50 inches square, you want your backing and your batting to be 58 inches square or larger.
Yep.
So
yeah, bare minimum. Because you need that extra room, and the reason you like it extra on the side, besides any shifting, those kinds of things, because quilts do what they want to do sometimes, and your quilts sometimes may not be as square or rectangular as you think, but they also like to do testing stitches.
Yeah.
It is best to do testing stitches on the fabric you're going to quilt. So they can test it, not on your fabric and on another fabric, but that's not necessarily the same. So then the thread may not behave the same once they get to your fabric, especially if you're talking like batiks, satins, anything that's not a normal cotton, all those kinds of things. So the preference is to test on your backing, your batting, those kinds of things, so that we know everything's going to quilt nice, happy, and we don't have issues.
That's right. And I do want to make a point that if you like cuddle or Minky, we can have you bring that as your backing. Now, I will say, I have done free motion quilting on my domestic sewing machine with Minky on the back. I did that one time. I will never do that again. It did not play well, but when it's on a long arm frame, no worries. So sometimes we send it to the quilter so that you don't have to deal with the problem.
But do keep in mind, I do know there are some long armers that do not like to deal with cuddle, Minky, those, anything alternate from cottons, silks, those kinds of things. So do make sure you ask. Ask your long armor, are they okay working with cuddle, those kinds of things. And if you piece your cuddle, if your quilt is so large that it has to be pieced for the backing, you want to make sure that you've got your nap going the same direction. So the fur needs to go the same direction, otherwise it will look funny if it's going opposite directions, and that the stretch is all going the same direction. Because once again, ask me how I know. I accidentally pieced cuddle going opposite directions, pulled it out, and went, that's not good, and I had serged it. That piece of cuddle never got used as a backing because I wasn't going to unserge cuddle. So keep in mind, you want to make sure, generally with cuddle, I try not to piece them, so I try to keep them within the width of the cuddle so you don't have to deal with that. But if you need to, you guys pay extra attention to all those things, which way is it stretching, all that. Same with if you did say a knit backing. I have done a knit. I absolutely love knit as a backing. It is super soft and it actually gives it some weight. It's like a weighted blanket. But once again, knit stretches. It takes special attention on the frames and special attention when you're putting it together. So you can't just throw it on a frame, stretch it out like you do cotton, and quilt it up. Because how do we know? We've had a quilt quilted with knit that was overstretched, and then when it let go, it was just super bunched up. I still have the quilt because I absolutely love the quilt, but mistakes were made learning how to quilt with knit. But it is absolutely possible and usable, and I do love it. Just keep those in mind. I would potentially make sure you have more space around just
yeah.
to make sure you have enough to work with that knit, because you can't stretch it out and those kinds of things. So all things to keep in mind, but all very doable. But we had this example, this lovely quilt. This, if you're watching, this is beautiful. This is what will happen once you turn it into us. It does get hung on a hanger, so we try to keep it nice, pressed, because you went to the effort to have it nice and pressed for us. But we have our backing that is longer than our top. We have all our paperwork, filled out, pinned to it, and that's where it will sit and wait until it's turned to be quilted. So we keep it all nice and clean. And garbage bags, yes. So this is why. I unfortunately have a shop owner friend who just had a really bad story of a quilt that was turned in a garbage bag. I highly recommend, please do not bring your quilts in a garbage bag, and this is why we turn around and we put it on a hanger so it is visible, seeable, doesn't get lost, or potentially thrown away. I would hate for all your hard work, or grandma's quilt, mom's quilt, special gift, wedding quilt, to be accidentally thrown away or accidentally donated. So highly recommend, especially if you're going to a longarmer in a home, those kinds of things, somebody that you don't know, meeting for the first time, you don't know how the process is, I still would not take it in any kind of garbage bag.
Well, I know around here it rains a lot, so maybe transport it in a garbage bag, but as soon as you get it to where you're going, your destination, take it out. Just don't even
take the garbage bag home with you. This is our PSA of all things. Please do that. This is why some people save the plastic bags from sheets and comforters. Those are really good ways to store quilts and things and keep them clean while you're waiting for them to get from A to B and all those kinds of things. And to point out, so this person, there is no batting with it because of course they are purchasing our batting, which is an option, but not a must. We will tell you though, if you bring us a batting that is not a brand that we sell, I cannot personally guarantee how well it will quilt out. Because all battings are different. Just keep that in mind. And some battings just quilt up better than others. And so I cannot attest to some of the other brands as to how well they will quilt. So if you bring out a batting that's been in the closet for 20 years or some brand that we don't know, we'll do it, but we can't promise that we won't have some issues. And if we have too many issues, you will get a phone call that says, we can't work with this, you're going to have to change battings or unfortunately take it to somebody else that maybe can work with it. So just, there's certain things we try to keep in mind because we do, we kind of stand by the products we use, we've tested them, we've used them, we know they last, we know they work well, our threads, all the things that we have here for you, we stand behind. Like, it's important to us to have good quality products. We want your projects to last, your quilts to last, all those kinds of things. So we don't just go having anything available that may or may not work for your project. So,
well, and if you are going to bring your own batting, do be aware, like if your quilt has white fabric on it, your quilt top, or even your backing, just like this quilt, if you bring a batting that is a off-white or a tan color, that's going to dull the color of your white fabric. So you may want to consider making sure you have a white batting.
Yep, there are all kinds of things. But yes, if you are using a quilt that's true white, highly recommend you use a bleached batting. Anything else, neutral, multicolor, all those kinds of things, not a true white fabric on there. Natural is a fair game because generally natural is less expensive by $1 to a couple dollars, but it's worth the money if you're working with anything in a pure white that you use a bleached batting of some sort. All right, and then you get to tell us like what kind of threads you're interested. Do you want it variegated? Do you want it solid? Do you want your stitches to kind of blend in? Do you want them to stand out?
Right,
Queen of variegated. I always love
them. I love variegated, yes.
I just like having the multicolors, those kinds of things, but I do understand. There are projects you're like, I don't want to see it. I want to see the quilt design.
Right.
I don't want to see the stitching. I want to see all the hard work that I put into that quilt design.
That's right.
Okay, so things to keep in mind, and as always, if you don't know the answer, we are going to help you. We are going to walk you through it, so it's not like you have to be like, oh, I know all the things. You can come in and go, I still don't know. Like, what do you suggest? We will gladly walk you through all those things.
Well,
we have seen enough quilts.
Exactly, and that's the thing about it. When you bring it in, we've had so many customers come in and go, what thread would you use? I don't know what color. And so we have different options that you can look at. We can lay them out. So it's still, the decision is up to you, but we can help you.
Yes.
Maybe make some,
Yes.
give you some ideas.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, because we are the ones that have the experience, and that even goes if you're going to quilt it yourself. That isn't even like if you're going to have the Longarmer do it. If you're just quilting in general, as always, we want to help answer those questions. We've had some experience, so we'll gladly help you. You know, pick threads, match colors, all those kinds of things. You know, if you don't know how to do bindings, all that, you know, that is what we are here for, right? So, what else for?
Oh,
We have so many things.
Depending on when you want to bring your quilt in, we're coming up on holiday season, so you want to get your quilt in sooner rather than later. And gosh, I don't know how many weeks we're out right now.
Last I heard was 3 to 4 weeks that
Okay.
we were out. Amy's doing really good keeping up with everything, but yes, the holiday season flood will come. We will advertise our cutoff date soon because we do purposely make sure that we announce a cutoff date, that any quilt delivered to us in our possession by that date, we will do a guarantee to have it by Christmas or before Christmas.
Yeah.
Anything after that, then it just kind of becomes, we do the best we can. It is always a first come, first serve. We do generally have kind of an expedite service, but a lot of times not during the holidays when we do that as much because we have the people that we absolutely guaranteed. They will take precedence over, unfortunately, what I call a last minute Lucy. I hate to say it, but we do want to make sure those that were prepared get what they've been offered.
Right.
But we do the best we can to make sure that we take care of everybody. But keep in mind, and that even goes for our rentals. So in this room, we also have our longarm that we rent, Cage, that we had a renter this morning. So we do have a rental program. If you do want to quilt your own quilts, you can go to our website, go under the classes, find Longarm 101. That is where you will take the class, you get signed up for the program, and then you can rent the machine. The same thing will occur. The closer you get to holidays, the busier the calendar gets. So if you're thinking, hey, I want to use that rental, but I'm not ready. I may not be ready till October, November. You probably want to come take the class sooner than later. I'd say September-ish, just so you can get into the calendar, into the schedule, to start renting it. Even if your first time renting is just on a panel, some sort of practice quilt of some kind, muslin. I mean, we've told people just even find some thrift store type stuff, just to get in and get practice on it. And do not make your very first quilt be
the largest quilt you had in a very dense design. Don't do that for your first one.
Yeah, do not bring a king size wedding ring quilt that you are giving for a wedding that in 2 weeks it will, the stress. We've had that more often than not where they're like, oh, I have to, please don't do that to yourself. That is not fair to you.
Well, and the thing is with the rental, we rent out 7 days a week unless we're having a event.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we're renting it out. When we rent it, it's from 10 a.m. to about 4:45 p.m. So it's your rental all day long. Yes. Now, what some customers have done that maybe they do have that large quilt, they will rent it 2 or 3 days in a row so that they don't have to take it off and then start over another day. So there is that option, but we can certainly answer any questions you have if you come in or give us a call when it comes to that.
Yeah, so we highly encourage, if you want to learn how to quilt your own, that absolutely is an option. Just don't put yourself under some pressure to get a project done for anything important, or your first quilt being anything large and huge. Because it does take practice, take experience, just like anything else. You are probably not an amazing quilter right out the gate. You are not going to be an amazing longarmer, most likely, right out the gate, unless you're doing a lot of free motion at home already on your domestic machine and already have that practice. Then taking on a longarm usually is a little more smooth. But otherwise, start small and simple. baby steps. We always talk baby steps in learning something new.
And what I will clarify is that our rental, that is all free motion. We do not have robotics on that machine. Just make that clear.
Yes,
so
it
you will
is
be on your own.
free motion, or you can purchase your own pantographs. It does have a laser, and you can do pantographs where you're following a design in the back. But that is still, you are buying your own designs and doing that yourself. As she said, there is no handy dandy computer on the head of the machine to do it for you. It is all you, which is different than, say, what our Longarmer does, where we have robotics here and it makes it super easy.
Yeah.
So, but I think we covered everything.
I think we have.
But as always, if there's questions we didn't answer, reach out, ask us, comment, because I'm sure somebody else has the same question that we didn't cover.
Right?
Yeah, I know. But we're here for you. We'll gladly answer questions. Otherwise, we're ready to receive more quilts and keep them on going for the holidays. And we hope that you are following us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and YouTube. Yes!
Woohoo!
All the things for all the inspiration.
Bring your quilts in. We want to quilt them.
So glad Amy's not here to yell at us. Bring them in. She loves it. And we hope you have a lovely day and keep on stitching.